Welcome to episode number 3, and we finished episode 2 getting all of the spawn points configured. So now I've got, these are all the spawn points for the entire SoCal that I am using, and we've got all the symbols in here. So now that this is done, all I need to do is just start up the random AI traffic here. So I just have to make sure that that's enabled, and the AI is automatically going to start spawning in these trains. Now, since if I go to AI status, we've got nothing here. We got a completely empty map. If I go up to the sim options, total units in world, 0. So we're starting from scratch, but now that we got everything in there, I've got this on, but I'm going to reduce the time here to maybe 15 and 20. And this one doesn't really matter. We got so many symbols. I'll just leave it at that. But actually, let's make this 10 and 15. And then if your map starts filling up and all of a sudden you got trains everywhere, then you can just dial this up to a higher number to slow things down. So you can always be fine tuning. And I'm also just going to hit spawn random train and get some going here. So now we got one that just dropped in. I think that's in Oakland to, forgot what SCO was, but up at Riverbank. And you can't hit this too fast, otherwise it's going to tell you got ADHD. So you have to wait maybe 5 seconds between clicks. But now we got some trains dropping in. And if I look up on the map, let's see, this one I just dropped in at Cowell Yard. There it is. So we're looking good here. Now, I'm just going to let that run. We're just going to let this go on its own and let it slowly fill up. And while it's doing that, I want to show you. So all the train symbols we've got in here are strictly for scenery, traffic. We don't have to interact with any of these trains. They're just going to appear on the map, and Auto's going to route them based on the symbol. If I go into here, all these symbols, Auto's going to look at the last 3 letters of each symbol, and he's going to route the trains, appropriately based on that symbol. But none of the trains that we've added so far in here are tagged for industries. These are all going from one end of the map to the other, except for a few that I've got going into Barstow Yard or West Colton Yard. I think those are some of the only ones that are actually going into a yard right now. So these, for example, under mixed freight at the Seligman spawn point, see how they end in BAR, which means they're going to go into Barstow Yard. But I've just got them doing that for now as scenery. And once they fill up the yard, I just delete them out of there and let more come in. It just kind of, simulates a busy functioning railroad. And you can tell that they're not tagged for industries because if I click on all of them, see where it says tagged for industries here and it says no. And for tags, I just typed in Barstow, California, because that's the destination. So none of these every freight car in these trains that spawn are just going to say Barstow, California on them. Now, the only train types of this list that can be tagged for industries automatically and randomly by the AI is mixed freight. Any of these other types will have that grayed out. So if I go unit oil and go into the symbols here for unit oil, see how tagged for industries says no, and you can't even click it? There's no option for that because it's a unit train. So everything would be going to the same destination. So if I wanted to set this train up, for example, that's going to Los Angeles, if I wanted this to go to an on-map industry that's going to take a train load of oil tankers, and I wanted the industry to service it, I could just come in here, highlight this, and type in the 3-digit tag that I want each car to have for that industry. And we'll get into that later. But the point that I'm trying to make here is we're going to start getting cars ready for industries. And the only ones that will do random industries are these mixed freight, anything under mixed freight category. So you'd hit yes here, and then you'd hit the filter, and then this is going to list all the different local job symbols for each local job. And then if you click yes next to, for example, this one, these are going to show up on that train when it spawns and be tagged. And it's all going to be random and everything too, based on your industry configuration. So we got to look at that. But for now, I'm going to leave these off and put this back to Barstow, California as the tag. So these are just fillers. So this is all, just think of all the trains right now on all these sliders as just for scenery. You don't have to do anything with them. Now I got to turn auto on. I forgot to switch that on. So this train right here would not have been able to leave the yard because I didn't have the switches set up properly for him, for the AI. So he's coming out here. This one is good, but I had this one wrong, so I just fixed it. And then this one's also not lined for him either. So what I need to do is flip that one, and now he should get a signal out of the yard. See? But with these two switches on green, because see, I set the spawn point where I did, because this is one of the few spots over here at Calway Yard where you could drop in, have a huge long train spawn in, and not have it be draped over switches that could be wrong, and then everything gets messed up. So that's why I have the spawn point where I did. So now what I will usually do in this case is I put a marker so that these two switches, I know that if I ever switch them around for anything, I need to put them back to red so these AI trains can spawn in. So what I would do is I would go here like this, hit F6, and then up in the MOW menu, I'll put a red flag and then hit escape, and the flag just went down. So that just tells me that I want this switch to default be in red. So if I switch it to green for another train at some point, I got to put it back to red. And then I do the same on the other side. So I just go right here like that. F6 again, put another red flag, and that's it. And then it's the same for this switch over here that I just did. And there we go. So now I know that those need to be red. And if you make a mistake on one of these, like if I wanted to move this one or I put the wrong color, you just open up that same menu, and at the bottom here, just be near it and then hit delete down here. And then it deletes it. And then you can move it wherever you want to redo it again. All right, so now what I want to show you is the train symbols, because it's possible you could run into an issue with the routing with the symbols. So what we did here with all of our trains, AI trains, is obviously we added the symbols. And if we look at them here, let's go to one that's got a bunch. You could see, so auto doesn't care about these first three letters. They need to be there. All of your symbols have to be in this format where the first letter, a dash, and then 6 more letters, and then this number is optional here. And then if you want, you can put another dash and then 2 pound signs or the hashtags. And then when that train spawns in, the computer will automatically put today's date. So like today's, I think August 1st. So it'd put an 01, I think there. I think it does 0 first and then 1. Or if it was like the 15th of the month, it would put 15. You could do this for all your symbols if you want. I don't do it. I've done it in the past, and I realized I didn't need to. Like, it just added more text on my dispatch screen and a little more clutter. and it didn't really help me at all, so I don't do it. But if you want to, go right ahead. You can add those to the symbols. So they need to be in this format, and Auto's going to be looking at the last 3 letters of every symbol. So if I go over to, actually, let's do this. Let's go over Seligman, and let's drop a train in at Seligman. So we just dropped in a Z train, container train, and this one's going to San Diego because it ends in an, that's super hard to read there. AUG to SBD. There, now you could probably see it better. So I don't even remember what AUG is, but that's not a big deal. You go to the spreadsheet of BNSF symbols. I can do Control F, AUG, SBD, and there it is. You can see I've got it in Run 8. It's a Memphis, Tennessee to San Bernardino. And it's a Z series, priority UPS, LTL, intermodal. So, turn the tags off. So now what's going to happen is this train is going to go down to San Bernardino, and Auto's going to route them down there. But it's possible that if you didn't have the symbols right, or maybe you added a new symbol that wasn't in the game, it's possible that Auto would then route them maybe up to Bakersfield instead of down the Cajon Pass. So let me show you how to check the train symbols. So I just pulled up the Depot Plus train tracker, and I'm going to turn on the control points, and I'm going to look down here because this is where, coming from Seligman way out east here, there's really not, it's just a straight shot. There's really not any diverging tracks or alternate routes. But once we get over here to Barstow, then there is. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up the train symbols for the region that we're looking at. So in Run 8, if I open up the dispatch screen and I go to Barstow Yermo, this is where the train's going to be coming in from here, over here on the right. This is east over here. It's going to be coming this way, and then it's going to go all the way across the top, and then here's where it splits. And if it goes up to here, it goes up to Mojave, up to Bakersfield through Tehachapi. And if it splits down here at Valley Junction, it's going to go to the Cajon sub. So I need to go to my Run 8 folder, Content, V3 Routes, and then this is the Barstow Yermo sub, or I don't know if is that even a subdivision? But I need to go to Barstow Yermo because that's where we were on the dispatch screen. And then I'm going to scroll down, and every one of these subdivisions here, when you go into them, they have a train symbol routing XML file. So you want to open this, and I just use Microsoft Visual Studio Code. It's free, and it works really well, and it formats stuff nicely and everything. So now these are all the train symbols in here, and the switches, I guess, or diverging points where it could split from one way to the other. And this is just for the Barstow Yermo area. So now I need to find the one where that split is. So here we got Valley Junction westbound and Jewel eastbound to Mojave sub is what it says. And then you can see here, all these symbols are what Auto's looking at. These are the BNSF ones, the 3-digit, and then these 2-digit are the Union Pacific ones. Auto's looking at these symbols on the train, the last 3 letters of the 6 final letters in the train symbol. And based on these, it's going to route it the right way. So for example, you can tell here, you got BAK for Bakersfield, Boron, Fresno, I think that's Guernsey. So we know Bakersfield, that's going to the Mojave sub right here. And it's Valley Junction westbound and Jewel eastbound. So if I go back and Run 8, open the dispatch screen, here's Valley Junction westbound, and here's Jewel eastbound. So if a train was coming up the Cajon sub and it got to Jewel, right here, it would, if it had a BAK tag, auto's going to say, oh, that's got to go to Mojave. So it's going to switch the switch and it's going to go loop back and go up this way to Mojave. And if a train's coming from over here and it gets to Valley Junction right here, this split, it's going to say, oh, it's got to go up to Mojave. So it's going to flip this switch if it had a Bakersfield tag, or if it had a boron tag, or any of those tags in that list, it's going to go up this way. So it's actually really easy once you get used to it, or you understand it. It's really easy to know and get this set up. So like here we got Valley Junction westbound to Cajon. So if I want a train that is approaching that Valley Junction to go south, or it's what they call it west for BNSF, down the Cajon Pass, I want it to have one of these tags. And so here, like San Bernardino, that goes down all these. If it has any of the LAC, that's Hobart Yard. If the train's got any of these tags or these UP tags, or also it says all Amtrak, so any Amtrak train too, they're going to go down the Cajon Pass. So if I put up the map here, here's Valley Junction. So the trains with that tag, they'd come down this way, down the Cajon Pass, rather than going this way up to Mojave. So if you have a train symbol that you grabbed out of this spreadsheet and it goes the wrong way, it might not be in this list. So all you would have to do to add it to this list is on any of it doesn't really matter which line, but you would just copy this section here, hit enter, paste. So see, I got two LACs, and then you would just change this one here. So I'm just going to make something up like XYZ, and that's it. So now any train, I can tag trains, have AI tag trains, or I can manually tag them with XYZ as the last three letters of the train symbol. And when it gets to Valley Junction, it would go down the Cajon sub. All right, so now the next thing we got to do is we got to get some AI trains spawning that are tagged for industries. Because like as you can see here, these are all just tagged for Bakersfield. And like I was saying before, none of these are tagged for industries. So we got a couple options. There's several different ways, many different ways that you can go about getting trains into your map that are tagged for industries. And the first thing that I want to do here is open up the industry list. So when you get Run 8, it'll come default with an industry configuration that is from the Run 8 developers. And someone in the comments made a good point for me to let you guys know that Run 8 and the Depot Plus are two separate things. They are, Run 8 obviously is the people that made this simulator, and then the Depot and the Depot server and the Depot Plus and all that is a group of train enthusiasts that run the server extremely realistically, and they got members that make the train maps that we're going to look at later, and external third-party software like the external consist editor and stuff like that. So they're two separate things. So you have a choice. When you're starting brand new, you can start out with the industries that come with the game and the way they're configured. Or what I recommend, and what I think most people do, is they utilize the Depot's industry configuration. And there's a lot of benefits to that, and I'm going to show you now. Now I'm on the Depot server website, and I highly recommend that you sign up to get a login information and membership to the server website. Just because you're on this website doesn't mean that you're part of the Depot Plus server, but this just lets you join the community. And there's so many fantastic features and downloads here, and like references, things that just really, like, it's invaluable. Such a huge help to have the maps, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to go to reference, and I'm going to go to yard and customer tags, and we're in Southern California. And so they give you all kinds of hints here, like BNSF, here's all the codes for the different yards in SoCal. Here's Union Pacific's codes for their train yards. And then here's all the customers and industry tags, and you can sort by local up here. And then a lot of these here, you see the little photo icon. So like for Cantex here, you can click it and it shows you a picture and how the cars should be. And sometimes they'll even have text with arrows saying, you know, put tankers here and put box cars there. So it's a big help. So what I recommend is utilizing the depot's industry configuration file because it's going to match up to everything in here. And it's also going to match up to the maps. If I click maps, Southern California, and if I go to Mojave, for example, and then you download this map, it's a multi-page map. All the industries that are listed on here are going to be matching because you're using their config, the depot's config. So what you need to do is click on Downloads and then Depot Plus Config Files. And then here, the files, it's one download, and it's going to be for everything for Run 8, basically every single DLC, East and West. And then there's a PDF here with instructions and a YouTube video, and then you get the date. So this is a recent one, about a month and a week is when the last time they updated it. So you just click here and then save it. You could just save it to your desktop. And here it is. So I'll just go in and then you go to content and you can see it's all laid out the same as your Run 8 folders in your, on your hard drive. And then you go to regions, Southern California, and there's two things in here, the config file, which is your industry configuration, and the hump file, and that's your hump configuration. So I recommend starting out utilizing both of these. So you could just come in here and copy both, and then I'll open up a new tab, and I'll go to my Run 8 main folder, and then go to Content, Routes, Regions, Southern California, and then here's the two files I currently have, config and the hump configuration as well. So I'm just going to paste the two that I just downloaded from the depot into here. And it's going to say, do you want to replace the two files? And I'll hit yes. So now I've got the latest industry configuration from the depot here and the hump. And I meant to say just before this, always make sure again that you got these backed up. If you followed, since episode 1 here, you've already backed everything up, so you're good. But if you ever want to go back, because you might start for whatever reason using the one from the depot, and maybe you're like, oh, I want to go back to the one that I had. If you don't have it backed up, it's gone. So you got to make sure you have it backed up. And if you do want to go back, it's as simple as just finding it wherever you saved it, pasting it, overwriting this one, and that's it. So now that I've pasted that industry configuration in, I just want to exit. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save first. I'm just going to overwrite my world save. And then I'm going to exit to the main, or actually I'll exit the whole thing. And then I'm going to go back in. All right, so now we're back in Run 8. And if I open up the AI trains menu, you can see the AI's automatically been dropping trains in as I've just been letting the sim run. So we've already got 10 trains on our map. And I've got a max of 60, so it's just going to keep going. But now we want to set up some trains that are tagged for industries that'll be able to come into this yard in the Barstow here, and then we can run them over the hump and have them sorted for the industries. Now that I imported pasted the depot's industry config for SoCal and now reopened, so we've got their latest config right here. And in here, you can click these top column labels to sort. So like if I click this one, it's going to sort them alphabetically by the freight symbol. So it's going to group all your local jobs here, and then you got your incoming tags and the industries. Now, you don't have to, let me go back into there. You don't actually have to really do anything else with the industry configuration at this point. If I open up the industry configuration for individual industries, and we'll look at this a little later, but like, for example, Aerodyne Alloys, and you can see this is all set up by the depot, the people over there. And I got to turn auto back on because I logged out and logged back in. But if we go back here to Aerodyne Alloys, everything's all set up. The amount of cars, capacity, the hours, they take loads and it produces empties after it's serviced, and the types of cars. You can choose what specific cars you want. So like right now it's set up for box cars and gondolas because there's tags in here. There's something in there. If it's left blank, you're not going to get any of these cars. But if I even just put like the letter D, it would spawn that's an Amtrak auto rack car. But let's see if I do like Bethcon. Now when the AI generates this train or a train with this local freight symbol up here on it, it could have a Bethcon. If you don't want any of these cars, you got to make sure that's blank. And then all these tags here, separated by a comma, are what can potentially go on the finished or processed cars after the industry processes them. So it's going to have AEA first when the AI spawns the train. It's going to come into Barstow, go over the hump yard, get put on this local train, get brought to Aerodyne Alloys, dropped off, and then after 24 hours of simulator time, then the simulator is going to either put SDG, WAT, PAS, one of these on those cars. And here you got processed cars in blocks. So in this case, when say you dropped off 3 cars, they're all going to have an identical tag, one of these, and they're all going to say the same, the BEL, or they're all going to say KCK. And up here, if I have this as yes, then it'll do that. They'll all be the same. If it was on no, so now each car will potentially most likely have a different tag of just one of these. So one might say San Diego, another car might say STO, like that. So you can choose that. But we're going to, as we go on here in this series, I'm probably going to come in very likely, and I'll show you how to make changes here. Again, there's so many different ways that you can go about this, and that's what's really cool about Run 8 is you can get really creative. So now that we've got let's just take a look at the hump real quick. We're not going to do anything with it yet, but you got to be on the ground and close to it. So here's the controller, this building. So as long as you're close to it, and then I have it as I hit H and C for hump controller. I forgot what the default is. Here's the depot plus Barstow hump. So this was that file I just overwrote that said hump on it. This is the data that was in it. And this is each track in this hump yard is going to look for these different tags. And if it's got SDG, it's going to go down track 11. If it's got STO, it's going to go down 13. But we're going to look at all this more later. We're not there yet. So now we're back over here in East Seligman. And what I want to do is open up the AI trains menu, traffic generation, spawn points. And we're going to add some trains now that are tagged for industries to come into Barstow Yard so that we can run them over the hump. But one little tip that I have here that works for me is I actually found I don't want to add my supply trains that are tagged to any of these spawn points, these ones that are set up for just general cross traffic. And the reason is because it doesn't allow me to really turn them on or off. And what I mean is, so for Seligman here, I've currently got under mixed freight, because remember, these are the only train type that can produce tagged cars. If I go into symbols, these are all going to Barstow, but I currently don't have them tagged for industries. I can make all these set up to be tagged for industries, but and I could move the mixed freight slider down so that it doesn't spawn them when I don't want them to, or it does spawn them when I do. But if I wanted to add more mixed freight that maybe wasn't going to Barstow, now I've got some that are tagged and some that aren't in the same spawn point with the same slider, and I'd be turning off other ones then too. So what I've found that works really well is to actually create a separate spawn point in the same spot for East Seligman, but it'll only have the supply trains. And that is what we're going to be doing in episode number 4. So stay tuned.